Joining me now to discuss this further is Bobby Peake, the Director of Environmental Justice Group groundWork. Mr. Peake, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to The Full View. What's your reaction to the ruling?
Thank you for allowing us on to speak about this judgment. I mean, this is a really important judgment in South Africa's history. It's a judgment about human rights, linking environment to human rights. So now we understand environmental justice much more clearly. It is about an open democracy because industry now has to provide the information that we wanted for many years, the emission standards, the emission monitoring data. It's about accountability. Industry must put in place and government must put in place the systems that force the industry to have good monitoring. It's about cooperative governance, that government must all work together. And critically, in this era, it is also about a just transition. It recognizes that certain industries are going to have to close and that there has to be a plan for decommissioning and the rehabilitation of mpumalanga. And that means, making sure that workers are part of that. So this is a significant finding. And it's also, let us go back to the first statement I made. It is saying that air pollution and communities breathing in dirty air, government not enforcing it, is in violation of Section 24 of our Constitution. Section 24 says we must have an environment that's not harmful to our health and well-being. So in Human Rights Weekend, I think it's a significant finding.
Well, Mr. Peake, this campaign has been coming along for the past 12 years. So what has been the hurdles along?
Well, it's more than 12 years. Nelson Mandela met us, ex-President Nelson Mandela met us outside the engine oil refinery protesting. He then recognized that air pollution is an issue. Our Constitution recognizes that, it is an issue. And then in 1998, we had the National Environmental Management Act. And in 2004, we had the first Democratic Air Quality Act. And that act said that we have to have air pollution ambient standards that the air that we breathe must be healthy on the ground. And it also said there must be emission standards, that industry must not pollute in a way that harms human health. And, we also got in that act the right that there are very many polluted areas like the Highveld, and that these areas are known as high priority areas, and that the minister must act urgently. She failed to act urgently, and therefore Vukani Environmental Movement, groundWork, together with the Center for Environmental Rights, have been working very hard together for close on to a decade and launched the case in June 2019, compelling the minister to act. And yes, 2 years later, she has to act.
And I would imagine there would be arguments that would be raised with regards to, the fact that these companies who have been, labeled as the culprits in environmental degradation are the actual source of income and livelihoods for surrounding communities, and as well as contribute to the country's economy. So how do companies strike a balance between maintaining a clean environment and being a source of livelihoods for its citizenry?
We can't put people's lives over the economy, and that's really important. And Eskom and Sasol knew since 2004 that they have to clean up. Government knew that they had to put in place regulations and they had to take action, and they did put in place a Highveld priority plan a decade ago, but it never materialized with cleaner air and with safer environments for people. The result is that Mpumalanga and South Africa, because of the air pollution, Eskom's air pollution, have an excess deaths of more, of 2,500 annually. People dying because of that pollution. So that's really important to recognize. And what we now know is that we have to shift to an economy that is socially just, that produces energy for people first, and ensures that people have the right to a clean energy, and ensures that a new economy with renewable energy has workers and community at the core, not mining companies and export-led processes. We must remember that with all the economy and that we've had with mining and the air pollution from Eskom coal-fired power stations, we're sitting at a 50% unemployment rate. It's not because we're pushing industry to clean up that there is a higher unemployment rate. It is because they're dirty that there is a high unemployment rate.
Well, groundWork conducted a research study back in 2017, which estimated that 2,239 human deaths per year, as well as more than 9,500 cases of bronchitis among children aged between 6 and 12, could be attributable to coal-related air pollution in South Africa. So what are some of the findings that gave oxygen to this case?
Well, I mean, there was, firstly, let us recognize that, the United Nations human rights section was really important in this case. And Professor Boyd, the special rapporteur on human rights at the United Nations Environmental Program, also weighed in, and he was an amicus curiae, a friend of the courts, raising the concerns of human rights and air pollution. We did research with Professor or Dr. Mike Holland, or he did research in years ago. And subsequent to that, there was a variety of other pieces of research done for the case and prepared for the case that highlights that there's excess deaths in the Mpumalanga area because of the air pollution in the area. And we must remember it's a cocktail of air pollution. It's just not one pollutant. It's dust, it's particulate matter, it's heavy chemicals in that. There's, sulfur dioxide that impacts upon people. And when you put all these chemicals and this pollution together, the impact on people is so much more severe because of its cumulative nature. So that's why we're saying that, we have to shift. And in the Mpumalanga area and in the oil refinery areas around the country, we need to start turning to government and saying, what is a new industrial development plan, a new industrial policy that takes us into a process that is clean, that provides maximum jobs for people, rather than just providing electric cars for export. Let's start making electric cars in these areas for taxis for local transport.
All right, Mr. Peak, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us. That was groundWork Director Bobby Peak.